He will extract me. He will take me out of this environment. I am recording this video precisely because of the activity that you are even hearing in the background. That's how they cope. It's their coping mechanism to deal with the wickedness that dwells inside them. There is an individual living in a shack at the back of their houses that they're just like walking by, like there's nothing strange and dangerous encircling them. Like I am not on a precipice about to fall off. And the way they cope is by carrying on as normal. They carry on as normal. Like you imagine having a sister that is on their deathbed, like they've got cancer, it's terminal, it's late stage, and they're in hospital about to breathe their last, they're hanging on for dear life, and you are still partying, you're smoking, you've never gone to see them in hospital, and you don't even mention that sister of yours to friends that they're sick. If anything, you tell your friends that she's such a bug. Why does she have to go and fall sick while I'm busy at the pink of life? I'm busy trying to celebrate life. I'm busy trying to, sow my real oats. I want to go and get your cha baka. I want to enjoy life, and she just dared come here and cause all this melancholy with all of her cancer. That's literally what's going on with me. People they find me a burden because they just want to carry on as normal. My life is ending. I am literally on a deathbed. These are my last days. I cannot survive this. If God does not intervene, my flesh would be like withered. I would be ended. And all they do is talk on the phone. They just carry on as normal, guys. I wanted to, I actually do want to go to the car and finish this conversation because I'm distracted. But it's just, I'm sick and tired of having to derail myself from what I'm doing in order to, the insensitivity. I can't, guys, there's a lot on my mind. This child in the background, I can't deal. It's these insensitivities that have brought me here today. Now, I didn't want to talk, but just to give you understanding as to why I even did this video, I woke up in the morning, and I've been waking up the past 2 weeks mornings to find heaps of dishes in the sink with that child whose voice you're listening to in the background being here. She is 17 entire years younger than me. She does absolutely nothing, gets on the phone, sprawls herself, doesn't even do her bed every day. She sometimes leaves for hours on end with her bed linen not done. Do you understand? My mother has trained her to be like that. She has let it go. She's let stuff like that slide. And on top of that, she thinks of me as her servant because of the abuse that I have endured all of these years. And today, I woke up after all of the nightmares that I woke up from, recalling the dream where one of my relatives has just recently put witchcraft on me so my YouTube channel will go nowhere. That whole situation, waking up from all of that darkness to recall it. I then go in the house and dishes again. Everybody is home. My mother just drove out briefly. She's probably going to be back any minute now. Instead of washing them, I woke up a little later than normal today because I've been waking up in the middle of the night just to play red light, green light with the computer because they keep on turning off power. So when the power comes back on, I have to be awake and try and get as much work as I possibly can get done. So because of that, I'm missing out on nighttime sleep. So I woke up a little bit later. It doesn't matter what time of day I wake up. I could wake up at midday and I would find dishes that they've been using from 8 a.m. in the morning up until midday in the sink for me to clean. The floor dirty for me to wipe. For me to do it. They've given me a Cinderella life. My family have made me a Cinderella. And they are on the phone to cope with the wickedness that they are walking in. They are rather manufacturing coping mechanisms instead of repenting. The taboo that I am for them is a lesser evil than the prospect of me getting my life back together again. And these are not people that are, wait for it, random females in the office that have too much attitude for you to know what they're gonna do today. I'm gonna move to the car because I'm distracted by this child's voice. I can't carry on. I can't compete with the whatever demonic activity is going on there. I need to be able to think, and articulate myself, and I'm not going to be able to do that being distracted by every so often somebody boisterously laughing at the top of her voice. I'm not competing here. I'm trying to get a message out. So let's move to the car. Hi, I've only got 26% battery power, so I really hope to get this out of the way as fast as I possibly can. But it's definitely better in here because it's quiet, and I don't have to compete with some voice. Okay. The reason it's hot in here though, the reason why I'm recording today despite not wanting to is out of just sorrow, lots of it. And my sorrow is premised around, when is this gonna stop? Like, at what point am I going to be okay again? And will I ever be okay? Because that's just the thing. People get sick from whatever it is that they're sick from, and they want to then infect everybody else with their sickness. They mess up their lives and the ramifications of that destruction, they then go out of their way to make the ramifications out of other people's lives. And that's what's happening with me and my family. That's what's happening with me among my friendship set, the friends I used to have. It's people who made bad decisions in their lives and then could not stomach to look around them watching other people thrive in their much better decisions. And so they bewitched the living daylights out of everybody so that they don't get to be the only one in this situation. That's what's happening. This is why I'm in this situation. I chose Christ 11 years ago. And as a result of choosing him, I walked away from a debauched lifestyle, basically. And the fruit or the rewards of that change of climate is health all these years down the line, no diseases in my body, not struggling with any substance abuse. I am not married to a mongrel. I don't have children that I'm raising by myself in a climate of lots of sorrow due to the fact that my baby daddy is not to be trusted. Or I am not stuck with being in a relationship with somebody that I frankly don't want around anymore because, like I said, I'm stranded with HIV or something. I have got a combination of friends and family members who, thanks to refusing to listen to God, are in that position. And so they feel stuck. And as a result, they are like, I won't be the only one stuck. So they have set me up for failure so that I would end up like them. They have put me in a position to be in so much want. They've put me in a position to be in so much lack that I would then accommodate something that would ultimately grieve me for the rest of my days. Because of my faith in Christ, certain things are an absolute no-go. I would never be unequally yoked with some dude that doesn't know Jesus. I also would never fornicate. So HIV, they can forget about it. They can also forget about me being a baby mama out of wedlock. They can also forget about about me ending up with a man that is insufferable, because I will never end up with a guy that does not love God. And so my Christianity has stymied them. It has stifled them because it has made sure that I escape things that they inevitably fell into because they were deceived by Satan. And their reaction is to walk around me like there is no pain, no sorrow. Their reaction is to watch my life wither away. I writhe like a pregnant woman about to give birth. They are leaving me in this condition because it is their coping mechanism. They envy my Christianity and the fruit that have been born long term of it. Now that all these years have progressed, 11 to be exact. Now that 11 years have progressed since I came to Christ, even though I've been going through persecution, I'm still healthy. I'm still with some kind of favor, hope. There is something that I could inherit. But they've messed up so much as well in breaking my heart that they now just want to finish this off. Except this is murder now. This is homicide now. I am being killed. I am dying. There is no way that I can survive this life. That environment that you're looking at, I live in there with a dirty cat that keeps on muddying my sheets and I can't stomach it. Waking me up in the middle of the night to open for it because it wants to go here and there and everywhere. And they just keep on watching it also break apart. It's falling apart. I have to keep the fan on in there, or some sort of kind of noise must always be on, because if there is no noise else, like a video on YouTube or whatever, I can hear animal life, insect life, basically, underneath the floor, just moving. And the way that I distract myself from hearing that so I can survive, because I have nowhere else to go, I have nowhere else to look. I'm stranded, I'm stuck. If I don't muffle that noise out, I have understanding and knowledge all day long and all night long that I am living in a forest, a jungle that is decrepit and falling apart, and I cannot go anywhere. These are my living conditions. And drug addicts alongside alcoholics, alongside people who have gone and contracted all different kinds of venereal diseases, people who have married the absolutely wrong men and so they're miserable, people who have got children that they can't stand because of postpartum depression that they never got cured from as a result of being married to these wicked men and women. These individuals, in their bitterness, have kept me in a lot of sorrow. So I will eventually know what it's like to spend a day in their shoes, to walk a mile in their shoes when I chose Christ. So to them it's like, fine, so you don't have HIV, fine, so you're not pregnant by some deadbeat, fine, so you're not married to a deadbeat, fine, so you don't hate your very existence, you don't hate your life, you don't hate everything that's come into it as a result of your misdemeanors. But guess what? I'm gonna make you hate your life. because you're going to have nothing. You're going to go nowhere. You're going to be absolutely no one. And you will live in a jungle, in a hut at the back of your mom's house until whatever happens. Since you're so strong, you might not commit suicide, but you're going to turn 50. They've wasted but they've taken away all my 30s. They have wasted a decade of my life because of the misdemeanors that they went and committed against God that bore wicked consequences. They are literally reaping what they have sown. And so now they want me to participate in their cesspool. And the way that they're trying to bring that about, achieve it, is by attrition. They are trying to pressurize me in so much squalor and poverty, and with it, cause me so much sorrow, to languish and to want any reprieve at all, that I will eventually settle for anything. They're throwing me onto the loins of a man with a disease. They're throwing me into the house of a man that will beat me up. They are throwing me into a situation as a mom with postpartum depression that might end up snapping the neck of her baby because she can't stand her life. They are putting me in a position to die because they've been handed over to their reprobate mind. The amount of witchcraft I have been endured under the past couple of days, some of it coming from people who haven't even seen what's going on with me. There is a groaning on the earth by creation, and there is a writhing by the church. There is a sorrow, a deep one, that is impending. Clouds are gathering. There is about to be a storm that is unleashed on the earth. But before it happens, the Lord is going to take the church out of here. They are antsy as demons are antsy. So they're busy throwing random witchcraft spells in jail just because they can. And the most recent spells that I have been cast on me by some of my family members and friends, former friends. Like I said, I mentioned the one where a woman wants men not to find me attractive. They must just look at me and see something ugly. And on top of that, they don't want my YouTube channel to take off. They've put a spell on that. I just come out of a dream where a cousin of mine has put a spell on me to compromise sexually, to go and sleep. Like in this dream, I basically accommodated sexual endeavors with an ex-boyfriend of hers. So just anyone at all that comes here in these streets, doesn't matter what they look like. Insofar as they find you attractive, just go out like that. They want me to compromise. Just last week I had a dream where I was smoking cigarettes again. Week before last, I had a dream where I was drinking alcohol again. I quit smoking way before I came to Christ, and I quit drinking way before I came to Christ. And none of those habits ever sat well with me. So they are trying to bring things into my life that weren't even expelled out of me by the Holy Spirit. They were expelled by just common sense. I was like, I can't do this. I don't like it. So I stopped. And I had dreams where I smoked, I drank, I had sex, even with ex-boyfriends of family members. And I would see these individuals in my nightmares. They are desperate and itching. Do you understand? It's like they're being crawled on by bugs. And as a result, they can't stop incantations. They can't stop with witchcraft. They can't stop drinking blood. They can't stop cutting animals. They cannot stop with their rituals. This is exactly what the world will look like in the last days. People will lack natural affection. The people who have done this to me are not strangers. They're friends and family. And yes, family especially. Matthew 24. Because of an increase in lawlessness, the love of many has grown cold. People are lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud. The thoughts and intentions of men are evil continually. We are in the days of Noah. That girl from MTN that was insufferable, that I was ever wondering, but what must I do to please you? So you stop being so mean. I was that way only because I'm in Christ. I desire to be loved. There is an environment that we belong to, that we come from, that we are now alienated from by our sin, called perfect fellowship with man. We were never supposed to hate each other. So I only long for it because I'm a child of God. And that's what we ought to be, like taken back to. It's like a magnet that is ever drawing us back to it. That's why we languish and we writhe in sorrow and in pain. When people reject us, when they swear at us, when people fight us, when they scratch at us, when they put witchcraft on us, when family members don't love us perfectly. The reason we do that, the reason why it is an absolute heresy, a falsity, to imagine that you can survive without being looked upon with favor by other human beings, thinking that you can make it without the opinions of man favoring you, to think that you don't need human approval and acceptance. The reason why human beings are using that as a coping mechanism is because you hate God. You don't want to be restored to him. We are supposed to love each other, and we are never ever supposed to be content with hatred for each other. We're never supposed to be content with people not liking us, maligning us. We're never supposed to be content with somebody passing you a very mean comment as you walk by, telling yourself I'm strong, telling yourself you're a savage because you think your name is Megan Thee Stallion, telling yourself that you're going to basically repay evil with evil, where it is that these people are mean to you, so you're going to be mean to them. Tell yourself that you don't need anyone. I'm sorry, no. There is no one that does not need no one. If anybody is living a life as a hermit, it is a coping mechanism. It is not a normal state. It is a form of psychosis. And frankly, they need therapy. And so for me to moan, groan, and lament over the fact that my family do not love me is only natural. It's normal. But I'm on the narrow road that leads to life that few there be that find. And so therefore, my opinion is not popular. People are coming up with all different kinds of coping mechanisms to deal with the wickedness of the human race. Well, my crutch, my coping mechanism is Jesus. And he has told me, no, it is not intended for you to cope. I never intended for you to deal. I never wanted for you to just take it in your stride. I want you to mourn, groan, lament. I want you to grieve. Because this is not right and I hate it. So, you thinking that you can treat your own little sister like she ain't Jack, your own older sister like she ain't Jack, you thinking that you can treat your best cousin that you grew up with like she's no one, like her erasure from the earth is not an unsettling matter, you treating your former best friend like she's never been born, never lived among you, never ever shared or broke bread with you, for you to walk around like any of these relationships never happened, is for you to be under the curse. And for you to look upon somebody that is in angst about the nature of about the state of affairs, for you to look upon them like they're naive, is for you to be under a curse. And for that individual to see rightly, however, for them to be so unpopular, that everybody else will think of them as naive. The road is narrow that leads to life that few there be that find, okay? The road is broad that leads to destruction that many enter into. And so as a result of that broadness, people will in groupthink think that it is okay to completely ignore that your heart is broken, that people are walking around you like there is nothing of sorrow to be embraced in your soul. I'm normal, and everybody else isn't. However, I'm greatly outnumbered. And so because I'm as outnumbered as I am, the deception that will overwhelm the whole of the human race has it as such that they will think of me as this naive thing that won't catch up with the times. I'm sorry, I'm a homo sapien. I don't desire to be merged with robots. I don't desire for some artificial intelligence to extract out of me the desire for affection. I don't desire to be tweaked so I can deal better, so I can cope better, so I won't struggle with mental illness and to depression because the human race sucks. I'm sorry. If I'm depressed because people are unloving, I ought be. Because why in the world would you be anything but? Why in the world would you be anything but depressed when people are walking around like zombies? It is not right for man to be alone. And so therefore to make a person live in isolation like a hermit in solitude is mean. And it's right for them. It's human. It's normal for them to desire to not even exist when they find themselves in that position. Because who lives outside of what it is that is the image of God that is created in them comfortably? Who does not enter into some kind of melancholy when they are literally going against the grain of who they are, very foundationally baseline? You know, these kids who keep on lamenting that their parents want them to be doctors but they want to be dancers, their parents want them to be scientists but they want to be singers. They are being forced by some other entity, by some other force, to do that which is contrary to what their nature desires. So if that kid goes on and studies biochemistry even though they want to be a musician, understand they're going to be miserable in their career. They're going to hate their lives and they're going to be embedded or resentful against their parents. So just like a kid that wants to dance, whose mom and dad wants them to go and study neuroscience, I am entirely embittered and resentful at the human race. I am unhappy. I am melancholic. I'm depressed. I am forlorn and I will never recover until I'm allowed to fly like a bird. If I want to sing, let me sing. I am a human being and I want to be one. So just because you want to walk in an inhumane capacity where you disregard the image of God in you does not make you normal. It makes you like a forceful parent who's trying to get me to feel nothing when that's not how God intended for us to be. So people who want to go and cope by putting a bag over their head so as to hide their emotions, I'm sorry, this is the world that you've created for yourself. And you will ultimately get it, a robotized environment where everybody is walking around feeling nothing. In the days of the Antichrist, kids are going to hand their parents over to be killed. Man is going to lack natural affection. The Lord has come upon the earth not to bring peace, but a sword. All that activity is going to happen because your consciences are going to get seared. And there's going to be likely some kind of foreign technology invested in your bodies that is going to make it possible for you to no longer feel uncomfortable emotions. like sorrow. Feel uncomfortable emotions like pain. Feel uncomfortable emotions like heartbreak. Feel uncomfortable emotions like jealousy. You are going to be made a robot that's always smiling. Just smiling, even though there's nothing to be happy about. The world is undergoing an apocalypse, and here it is that after the sealed judgments, the six sealed judgments, by the end of them, literally something like just over a quarter of the human race will have been killed. A quarter. That's 2 billion people will be dead. And yet, people are going to go on right ahead and take the mark of the beast just so they can be happy after a whole quarter of the human race has died. Who in the world, after enduring that kind of a holocaust of the Earth's citizens, is able to carry on as normal? They're going to try and extract things like PTSD out of people. They're going to try and extract depression just to make a society live like the one in the movie Pleasantville. Or the movie, what is this? What do you call it? The one, Body Snatchers, where you've been robotized to walk around with a smile and to feel nothing when you hand your own mother over to be sent to the guillotines because she chose Christ. When you send your own sister over to go into a concentration camp, you are going to be glazed. Your eyes will have no emotion coming out of them. You're going to successfully do it because you will be merged with the DNA of demons. You're already set for that stage. Your whole constitution is already fashioned to accommodate that. It's already there. My family members have never been readier to take the mark of the beast. They've never been readier, and we're not even in the tribulation yet. They are ready to have the Antichrist extract out of them feelings of guilt for breaking my heart. These are people who hate that they feel uncomfortable with sin. And so the Antichrist is going to make them able to not feel sorrow or contriteness for sin. We're going home. If ever I'm going to find myself living in a society where I have to deal, that girl at MTN, she was vastly outnumbered. Most of us agreed that hers was a weird personality. But when the whole world, or it's increasing or spreading like a gangrene, starts to become like that, where now it's coming into your own backyard, where your own mom, your father, where your own child, your own little baby sister treats you like that random fool at my former organization. That woman that I couldn't understand. What did I do to you? What do I need to do to make you a little bit happier? Must I jump up and down on the spot like a clown? Do a little bit of a circus act that you might find me entertaining? What must I do? I've been like that with my family for 8 years. I have bent over backwards. I have cajoled myself. I have made like a ventriloquist artist, literally twisting my body in ways that are uncomfortable just to get approval from them restored to me. Just to get my mother to treat me the way that she used to treat me some years back. Just to get my sister to treat me the way that she used to treat me some years back. Just to get my cousins to find me more favorable. I have bent over backwards. I have been a slave at their beck and call to no avail. I recently offered an olive branch to a family member of mine to help them start a YouTube channel because they are going through a hard time. And I was prospering to get something done for myself. And this person not only rejected my help, but they also decided to go and curse it. My impending prosperity, any sliver of hope that I have, any sliver, however tiny it might be, whatever tiny little amount of light might crack through my very dark room, they put filler on it, so it is entirely dark around me. It's ominous, it's dark. This is serious. I am being pushed to suicide by people who are walking around like zombies, and they refuse to acknowledge the guilt within them and the anomalies. They look at world events, and with them culminating in the way that they are, suggesting something is very seriously wrong. They are still in their own little silos, tiny little ecosystems. They're still happy to push some selfish agenda in their little ecosystem. When all of these things, we know, if you add a multiplier to them, will ultimately be an earth pandemic, a worldwide earthly pandemic. I'm not the only person suffering like this. The human race is wicked. Whoever it is that is watching my video right now, you are either a victim of this coldness of society, or you are a perpetrator, but you definitely have experienced it in some way. And granted that there are people who are too stuck and selfish in their own ways to let things go, there is no other solution but for the Lord to snatch us out of this. Last night, you know how I play roulette with the Bible every so often? I just open it to a random place to see what the Lord has to say. I've been languishing like no man's business for the past 48 hours. I've been struggling. Yesterday I tried to exercise, and indeed I did, but it was so hard to just get one squat in. I felt like I was doing a squat with like 20 kilograms on me without me being able to lift all that. Everything was just rough. Do you understand? And the reason why that is the case is because I am bereft and I am forlorn with the way that things are going, and I'm expected to be content with it. I am being threatened with poverty for the rest of my life, and I'm expected to squat in a hot room where there is no ventilation because I have nowhere else to exercise. I'm expected to continue living like that for another year or 2, 3. Have a family member who just put witchcraft on me that my YouTube channel will not go anywhere. Not that they would ever prosper. If the Lord wanted me to rise, I would rise. But the fact that they are content with me being in the squalor for the rest of my days suggests that they don't care if I end up committing suicide because I'm tired. I'm literally exhausted of living like this. Nobody survives my life. Nobody. People eventually end their lives because of what's going on with me. And I've got an entire family that is watching me. Some of the members of which are still investing witchcraft very actively, making sure that I don't go anywhere. Literally, the level of taboo source. I mean, who in the world bewitches a woman since you can't take her face away because you can see that God loves her? You then say, let men look upon her with disdain. Don't find her attractive, think she's ugly. I had recently somebody put that kind of a spell on me. They tried to take my face away, but I'm covered by the Holy Spirit. So if they can't make me ugly, then call someone who can be swayed by every wind of doctrine. Someone that can be swayed by darkness. Let them then be blinded from the beauty of a woman that is obviously worthy of respect. I'm sorry. This place is dark. It's wicked. There is this show on Netflix that I watched not so long ago. It's a Korean show. If I'm watching something on Netflix, I love Korean stuff. I tend to watch it because they steer clear of profanity and there's no sex. So those are the shows that if at all I'm watching Netflix, I watch it, right? It's called Memories of Alejandra or something. It's a South Korean show. It's based in Spain, portions of it, but also in South Korea. My goodness. It's about this game that they play that is involves a whole bunch of magic. But the magic stops being a game. It starts being manifestations within this video game happen in waking space where if a person gets killed in the game, they die in real life. Something of that nature. I'm not even going to go and explain that in depth. And the source of this magic is a city in Spain called Granada. I watched it from beginning to end and I was like, oh my goodness, whoa. And the Lord was like, that's exactly what their sorcery is like. They think it's a game. They are messing with people's futures. They are taking people's careers. They are taking people's legacies. They are literally taking people's livelihoods away from them and they expect them to live. But instead, the game that they're playing ends up producing actual fatalities, casualties. People die, they commit suicide, they lose jobs, are unable to get new ones, and so they neutralize themselves or they put themselves in harm's way just to get bread. They end up selling their bodies, just to get ahead. Women end up sleeping with men to get jobs, and then men end up entering into drug deals and whatnot because goodness, you lost your job as an accountant and now you have to go and make ends meet. As a guy, you're a hustler, so you're going to try and make ends meet in a dangerous capacity. And so they end up getting shot dead in that drug deal. Witchcraft that kills people even though it's not a death spell. You're just messing with a person's career, but they end up hanging on a noose. God was like, all of South Africa, all of Earth is like Granada, a place where witches are playing games with people's lives, but people are actually dying for real. People are dropping to the ground for real. Lives are being smoked like marijuana and they are getting high. And so they are jumping off cliffs unawares to themselves that they're going to the abyss. They are sending people to hell because many of them are not even saved when they either commit suicide or get killed because of an irresponsible thing that they would never have done if their lives were not interrupted by witches. And the Lord is like, I'm about to neutralize Granada. I had a dream where I was there's a train that arrives in Granada, right? In this show, I was at Granada train station, sitting there wearing white robes with bags packed. And I was like this, literally, I had a peace sign to everything behind me. On some Yahamba. God is showing me you're boarding a plane, you're boarding a train. You are getting out of Granada, you are leaving. Guys, witchcraft will never stop. They won't stop. They've been at it since the beginning of time. Pharaoh had sorcerers and magicians. So too did Nebuchadnezzar. They will ever practice it. There's only one time in the history of the human race when indeed a person can successfully exit Granada. I will ever be amidst witches. Even if I were to get my life back together again, there will always be somebody on YouTube that is competing with my channel that decides to put a spell on it. There's going to be somebody in corporate, if I find myself there, that is going to bewitch me because they're competing with me as a colleague. There will always be some guy that will find me attractive but not be in my league that will try and put a love curse on me to force me to be with them. Everywhere I go, it will always be there. There is only one time in the whole entirety of the human race's existence where there will be no witchcraft. in operation. Only one space I can think of is the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. Demons are held bound. So if you continue, for the life of you, to continue to consult that glass ball, to look into those omens, to interpret them, if you continue to practice as a medium, it doesn't matter. It's like a child playing with an imaginary friend. There will be no effect to it. So everybody busy practicing their sorceries and their witchcrafts, they are not going to get anything done. For the entities that make witchcraft effected will be bound in chains. But the wicked are going to be entirely cut off. So if you still love your witchcraft and you want to carry on, you want to bewitch saints of the living God, you want to bewitch the royalty that is walking around that has been redeemed from their corruptible bodies that have come back with Jesus Christ. If you want to bewitch anybody at all that's still walking this earth in a corruptible body, God is going to cut you off. It's written in God's word that at some point God is going to cut the wicked off. So you won't even be able to experiment with tarot cards. You won't be able to experiment with psychic consultations. You will have to stop or die. That is the righteous reign of Jesus Christ. And God has made it clear to me that it's coming. I told you guys that in any given day, I get visions of me wearing a very bright, beautiful wedding gown. About 6 to 7 times a day, I get such flash visions. God is telling me, you're as good as wed, Karabo. You're as good as married. We're going home. We're going home. Some time ago, I also had a dream where, you know the Squid Game? I had a dream of all of the participants in the Squid Game, like new, as in it was yet, nobody was yet dead. Nobody had yet gone through red light, green light, or whatever. They were packed in this one big fat hall, and they were all wearing bright white clothes about to eat. And they were shuffling around trying to look for their chairs where it is that they were going to sit. And the Lord, when I woke up from that dream, I was like, what God did that dream mean? Yes, I've watched the Squid Game. I told you I watched shows from South Korea a lot. Because there's also a lot of symbolism in there that suggests what in the world is doing, predictive programming that I am trying to be on top of, right? I was like, God, what was that? Why were you showing me participants of the Squid Game, people who played the Squid Game? Why are you showing me that with them eating at a banquet? And God is like, it's because they have made my daughters and sons play the Squid Game, and they're about to like gather at a banquet to eat with me. All of us had played the Squid Game. We had gone through some kind of a test and a trial in this world where they were playing with our lives, but we survived. We made it. We endured to the end and we got saved, and now it's the banquet. And literally they were about to sit and eat, but it was all the participants of the Squid Game, or the venue where the Squid Games are held. The Lord is gonna snatch us, guys, and we are gonna go eat. And those of y'all who played with our lives and literally trying, you know how the people who get invited to play these Squid Games usually is something that they're struggling with in life. They're struggling with it, and that's how they lure them to play these games. Type establishment thing. They usually lack money or something. They will have made us suffer so much want and so much lack that they would have thrown us into a game that would have taken our lives, but we will have made it. They have put me in a position to suffer want and lack. We're going home. We're going home. I didn't want to do this video today because literally I'm repeating the same thing using different analogies, but it's only because my heart is broken over the fact that they've converted me into a domestic servant. Guys, I'm a slave. I'm a slave to my own family members, and they are not disquieted by that. My battery is at 10% right now, and I can hear that child has stopped talking. So I have one last thing that I still want to do. In fact, I don't know if I'm not going to be able to talk all the way to the very end without trying to rush through it. So let's go and charge the phone and finish this conversation from inside the hut back there that I live in. Yeah, I wanted to come and share with you guys that the Lord does not expect us to keep on tiptoeing around wicked men and women who refuse to not only acknowledge Christ as King, but also to acknowledge that there's something very seriously wrong with the human race right now. Very seriously wrong. That it is not okay for us to be so unloving, so cold, and to be so classist and so defeatist, and for family members to do this to one of their own. That you can't just keep on investing in witchcraft against your own, like, be it sibling, cousin, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, cat, cow. Like, seriously, you cannot just live a life where you keep on consuming demons on the daily. Onto lawyer, bokamoso, pa ngwana ko henu, or ngwana hao, or king cousin ya hao, or auntie. No, you can't just live like that. You can't. And for you to imagine that God is just going to keep us in this constant sweeping state where we have to ever fast and pray against all this demonic attack coming against us, I'm sorry, no. Things have culminated to a point where now it's time to take us home. They have been made reprobate, entirely wicked. Many will take the mark of the beast. Those who don't, you don't get to continue with your witchcraft anymore. The Lord showed me. He said in these very words, Granada is coming to an end. There's only one time where magic and sorcery will come to an end. The cities that thrive in it is the millennial reign. If at all you try to do it, you'll be like a car starting an ignition and it goes nowhere. It's the millennial reign Witchcraft is about to be neutralized permanently, and those who loved it, repent. If you don't, take your mark so you can get like destroyed, decimated, thrown into the lake of fire. Do what you want to do if you want to die a second death. But now, this here is a conquest by ordeal. Do you understand? A trial by ordeal. We get to prove, as Elijah on Mount Carmel, that God is God. And if God is God, serve him. If Baal is God, then serve Baal. This here, what Christians are doing, is Mount Carmel type miracles. And those of you that want to continue to cut yourselves up, granting, chanting over some like animal that is not getting like burned fast enough by your fake God. If you want to keep on doing that all the way through the tribulation up until the end, bashing your fists at God, hating him, not giving him honor despite all the plagues that he's dropping on you, then understand that at the very end of the tribulation, that is if you don't first get killed by all of his wrath and his plagues, you are going to be neutralized by the second coming, and your body is going to get consumed by the birds, by the scavengers by the beasts of the scavengers of the terrain, by terrestrial scavengers, and also those that are aerial. Birds of the air and beasts of the field are going to eat your flesh. Your carcasses will no longer be buried. You will lay waste there, and as your souls depart from your bodies, you will see all that. You will be made to see as your bodies are departing as your souls are departing from your bodies, that you are meat for the wolves, that you are meat for the for those foxes, you are meat for vultures. You will see it. You will see it. I actually had a vision of a cousin of mine that has severely devastated my life. Literally watching her body getting ravaged by birds of the air, while she stood there held in chains, like her, what do they call this thing? Handcuffs, yeah. With her being handcuffed by two giant angels standing next to her. They made her watch her body getting consumed by the fowl, and she was drenched in darkness. She was wearing black clothes, and there was a shadow of darkness around her. She was dead. It was over for her. But angels that were taking her to where in the world that she would spend eternity first made her watch getting torn apart by vultures, her body on earth getting consumed, and she was crying. She was languishing. She knew that she could not beg for help and get it. She knew where she was going, and she wished she could turn back the hands of time, but it was over for her. That same cousin has devastated everything of my life, and has taken my face, has taken my reputation, has taken my children, my husband. Like, she has bewitched anything. If she could bewitch it, she bewitched it. And I had a dream of her body getting consumed, with her watching as angels that were transporting her to her eternal place where she was going to be, basically made a watch. And they're like, you and your many dreams, you're crazy, all the best. Let's go inside and charge my phone. Hi, my nose, just as I was coming back, the way I'm so stressed out, bled. Like, I'm sorry to have to show you this, it's gross. My nose bled. Like, I was in so much distress that like blood just started anyway. Thankfully, I caught it before it landed on me. Let's just finish this. These nosebleeds, not characteristic of me, never used to struggle with them as a child growing up. However, I started getting them a couple of years ago because of the way that I'm so persecuted. That's how badly my family have treated me for years. That's how badly witches have been perpetually afflicting me. I've literally been put on a gurney, a deathbed, by my whole family and friends, and they're not barging. Like, that's just the sad thing. They're not barging. The issue is the fact that they are not barging. I spoke about how it is that the Lord, whenever I play Bible roulette, if you want to call it that, whatever it is that I land on, I often get just like powed by it because it's just so relevant. Well, yesterday I happened upon 1 Samuel 2 on Hannah's prayer. Just to give a little bit of context on the story of Hannah. Hannah was a woman that was married. Never got divorced, you get my point. She was a woman that was married to a man that had another wife. The other wife's name was Peninnah. Peninnah was fertile, she could have children, while Hannah couldn't. And Hannah was the beloved wife of Elkanah. So he had two wives, and he loved Hannah more than Peninnah. Because of that, jealousy rose in the heart of Peninnah. And due to Peninnah's fertility and ability to have children, she therefore took that and taunted Hannah with it, abused her, persecuted her, and mocked her for not having any children. Hannah was in great distress as a result, prayed for years for a child, could not get one. One time, she went to the synagogue or the temple or something, and she was praying there, and she was so afflicted, and she had been fasting for so long and praying at the same time, all these years having not gotten her answered prayer, that she looked drunk. No words were coming out of her mouth when she was praying. And the priest in the temple, Eli, looked upon her and imagined her drunk because she was praying without talking without any sound coming out. So he thought that she was drunk, and then rebuked her and said, "Woman, will you desecrate the temple of God like this? Like, this is the synagogue of God. You don't get to do that here." And Hannah was like, "Don't take me or mistake me for an immoral woman. I am not drunk. I am rather afflicted in spirit." And then explained to him why, because I don't have a child, etc. So I'm basically just fasting and praying. Eli then understood and was like, "Oh, my bad," right? Of course, I'm paraphrasing. And then promised her, basically blessed her and said, "Go and eat, stop fasting, remove the sorrow from your face. You are gonna have a child. You are now blessed, you will bear a child." Indeed, about a year later, Hannah then gave birth to her first child, Samuel. Hannah then went on right ahead to have more kids after that, but the first kid, Samuel, was the first ever prophet over Israel that anointed the first two kings of Israel, Saul and then David. She promised the Lord, because of having been blessed with a child, she then gave Samuel to the service of the Lord for pretty much the rest of his life, from the beginning. And Samuel was therefore raised by Eli the priest, or groomed into his ministry by Eli the priest. That is the story of Hannah, just the backing, right?